we're always so focused on delivering outcomes. And when we get so outcome oriented, the process gets lost in the mix, right? And I
Yeah.
and I think the process is just way more important at the end of the day. That's what I'm selling more of than anything else. I'm selling a process that, hey, there's no guarantee that we achieve this outcome at the end of the day because there's so many variables in life that we can't control.
Welcome to Athlete's Edge with Doc Dolly.
Smith grabs the puck and scores!
Providing athletes with a scientific edge in achieving goals and optimizing performance. We bring in expert healthcare practitioners and high-performing athletes to share case studies, cutting-edge research, and their invaluable knowledge.
Had him dead to rights. McDonough cross. They score! Nikita Kucherov!
Whether you're looking to enhance your training, prevent injuries, or reach new heights in your sport, you're in the right place. Let's introduce your host, from Rhinelander, Wisconsin, former collegiate athlete and owner of Motivation Health and Wellness, Dr. Jason Dahlquist.
They score! It goes in!
Welcome back to another podcast, guys. I am Dr. Jason, and today we are diving into tracking, journaling metrics for performance. And I have brought in another physical therapist, Dr. Nevin Saju, and he owns his practice down in Dallas, Texas, Revenant PT. And we got integrated through a physical therapy coaching organization, which is really like a network of physical therapists that are all getting together, working together to essentially change the traditional aspect of healthcare and provide care that people really deserve. But let's get to know Dr. Nevin here a little bit. Nevin, fill us in on how your practice is going, how long you've had that up and running. We've had some good conversations in our PT Biz accountability calls, but it's cool that we can get you on here and dive a little bit deeper into, getting to know you.
Yeah, definitely. First, thanks for having me. It's pretty exciting. I don't do podcasts often. I've done maybe one or two, but it's always fun. It's natural. I've always felt way more comfortable in like long form conversation than like trying to come up with like a bit or something, So it allows for more detailed expression. But as far as my practice, I started up here last year in June. So a little over a year, and I've been full-time with it since April of this year. So what? So 6 months full-time. Feels much longer than that in a weird way, but yeah, no, I've been at it 6 months full-time, and yeah, just grinding away with it and continuing to learn more on the business end of things. I think that's where I can continue to sharpen the skill set and continue to get better at to provide more service to just the community.
Absolutely. One of the big things that I picked up on in our accountability calls is that Dr. Nevin here likes to track a lot of his daily things like journaling, writing down whatever comes to mind. Walk us through what it looks like for you in your practice, because you see a lot of the chronic pain patients, and it isn't just specifically athletes. You see a lot more of that. People have been in pain for a long time to help them get out of that and kind of reverse that process. Walk us through what it looks like for you from the journaling aspect. How does that benefit you, and what does it look like?
Gotcha. So it's pretty variable in like how I journal. It could be as simple as just like writing a ton of notes right here on my phone, which I use the Google note-taking app, and I've just got like a bunch of different folders filled with different tabs for different types of like thoughts and, like just along that end of things. So I'm always kind of like, if something comes to my mind, I gotta like jot it down real quick. And then I'll expand on it later. In the morning, I'll usually like first thing after I wake up is to get a quick meditation prayer in. Then after that, I'm gonna go in and just write a little bit off of that as well, and then just kind of like set an intention for the day. And then sometimes what I'll do is also just set an alarm for like lately it's been 3 p.m. That's been like the golden hour for me, and then it'll be just a reminder of what I wrote about in the morning. So then like midday, I get that little bit of a reminder to kind of like, okay, that's kind of what the theme of the day is, if you will, right? And then outside of that, just sporadically, I'll just sit there on the computer sometimes and like just like once this starts happening, it doesn't stop. It just goes until like a page or two is done, and there's almost very rarely any backward backspacing. It's just
Just
linear
what it
thought
comes to mind.
always.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
let it
I
flow.
don't know what it is. That's just something I've been able to do since like undergrad. So it's just I would say a skill that I want to continue to get better at, but something that comes a little natural to me, I would say.
So when you're writing, is it more personal? Is it business or just kind of whatever comes out the keys?
Yeah, just anything goes.
Just
Like
anything goes.
quite literally anything goes. Like for example, I'll give you a good one. My
Yeah.
sister, she just had her second baby, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this was last week, and so I went to go meet my nephew, and like I'm holding him for the first time. He's like a couple hours old at this point, right? So it's like, and I was so happy, I was so excited. And then the second I put him down, a thought just popped right in my head, and I'm like, all right, hold on a sec. I just pull out my note app and I just write it down, whatever came to mind, and then I kind of just sat on that. And then during my weekly newsletter this week, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just write about it. So I just read
Yeah.
like the little paragraph I put, and then just took it and I just went with it. And I could share what it was about if you want to get an idea of like
Yep.
how the wheel turns. But like I was holding him, and my sister mentioned, because it's like I'm turning 30 next month, and I was telling my sister, I
Okay.
was like, holy shit, like when this kid's 20 years old, I'm gonna be 50. And then she goes, yeah, and then think about how quickly the first 20 years of your life went. And I'm like, oh god, I know, right? And then in my head, just immediately I just thought about all the things this kid's gonna learn just as he grows up. And I was like, oh dang. And then I thought about how many things does he need to unlearn as he grows up as well, right?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the theme of it. It's like we learn all these things through life, which is good, but it's just as important as we grow older to start unlearning some of like the programming that we have in our head, especially. And then I just took that and I related it back to pain and kind of like
Right.
took that route with it. But that's kind of how this will work every now and then.
Yeah. Which congratulations for one.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hopefully everything is, healthy on both ends, mom,
Yep.
kid. Yeah, that's so cool. One thing that I picked up on is being present. So I feel like when you are able to reflect on current things like that, you're a lot more present
So
in certain situations because you can easily like get out of the fact like, oh, I got to go write this down, and then you're not worrying about the newborn in your hands, the new family member, the new addition, right? But the whole aspect is you're in that moment, you're capturing those thoughts and figuring out a way to express them, and in a way that can be very stress relieving too,
def-
which is big when we talk about uh chronic pain patients or athletes. There's always so much stress, and you don't always know in the moment how to react to what is going on. And it's almost like taking those moments and expanding upon them. And when you're writing, when you're reflecting on them into other aspects of your life, and to me, it's almost more meaningful.
no, I can agree with that. And to be completely honest, like being present is something that I've struggled with quite a bit. And I think that's the struggle of a lot of us in like the entrepreneurial space, especially
Oh yeah.
when we're starting off, because it's like there's so many things to do and we're constantly like thinking about the future, and you end up forgetting to live right now, right?
Hmm.
And that's just been honestly, I'm getting an idea for something to write about right now as we're talking. But it's like, but that's a
You're
big,
welcome.
it's a big struggle, and it's actually something that like I've worked with the performance coach for something like that, because that's something like I struggle like it was one of those things I didn't even know I was struggling with until I had a conversation, and he helped me kind of just see how like negative that those thoughts can be over a long period of time, because if you're not taking care of yourself right now, you're just going to burn out, and it doesn't
Mhm.
matter how big and grand your plan is for the future if you can't do things right now, so presence of
Well, it's
mind
all the
is
things.
definitely
Yeah, it's all the things right now that lead to that vision that you have. And if you aren't doing those daily steps, those daily activities that are checking the boxes towards the end game, you're not going to get to the end game. So,
exactly.
like, yeah, like you said, it's so important to be in the right now, and I struggle with that a lot. It's
I,
very hard, and I think a lot of people do. You're not alone on that one.
I fully agree. And if you don't mind, I could just kind of what like our intent was for the talk generally. Like I could just pull it into programming for an athlete with that same type of
Yeah.
theme. It's like something I struggled
Mhm.
with earlier in my career, and even to this day, if you will. It's like when someone's coming to you and they want to like just improve XYZ, it doesn't matter, right? But whatever the case is, it's like in my head automatically I know what I want to get done, like the treatment plan's already done here. The battle is just every single meetup what lateral move we're going to make, or what like tissue specific move that we need to make just for the session, that specific session. But the general idea of what you want to take this person through is going to be there. And for the longest time, I would just be so focused on the big picture of it all. Like, because I know, like, if we can nail down this entire, like, the bigger sphere of the movement categories that we need to hit and just get into the program part of it, oh, this person's going to be good in the long run. And it's
Yep.
always the long run.
Absolutely.
And for me, that just took me away from taking care of things right now, the tissue reactivity right now, the hands-on skills that are meaningful right now, and I almost became like a very hands-off therapist, very, like long-term approaches, and it just wasn't helping people right now. So it's like that when you start to think of that, it's a matter of, are you living constantly in the future? And if you are, that mindset isn't just going to be specific to one domain of your life. It's
Mhm.
likely gonna span across
Everything.
multiple different domains, right? And so
Yeah,
confronting that is huge, and was huge for sure.
that's so big. Another aspect too is the coaching that you brought up there. So, one, yes, you need to be tracking, having the self reflection, and really understanding. And if you aren't able to understand that aspect yourself, writing can help. And then sharing these things with a coach, with somebody else that can point them out to you, whether it's your physical therapist or just a uh, psychologist, whoever it is that you're working with, they can point you in the right direction. And if you're not like getting the results that you want in whatever activity that it is, whether it's sports, whether it's pain, whether it's something, there might be that lateral shift that needs to be taken place. Like we might have taken steps too far in care where we're progressing too quickly, whether it's return to sport or getting people moving too fast when the tissues weren't able to tolerate those stresses. And that's where like we're thinking too globally, and then we have to bring it back down to more tissue specificity and then retarget there. But a lot of it comes down to the self-reflection and tracking.
Oh yeah, like I think that's definitely like it's so important to track, and it's almost as if like you got to know where you are right now, right? And you have your north star, you know what you're heading towards. But if you're not like reflecting and seeing like the little milestones along the way, then it doesn't matter what the North Star is, like those milestones matter, the metrics matter, the KPIs matter, and they could be whatever it is that you're good at measuring, and whatever you're good at measuring, if you're good at talking about them, that's what you're going to attract, right?
Yeah,
You don't need to be the guy that measures every single detail of every single thing, but if you're damn good at measuring things that matter to you and you can bring results with, stick with them, right? Like you want to be very diligent on making sure that they are tracked, they are tested and retested frequently, and we can get into like different types of things that we like to test and retest, right?
absolutely.
So
But you brought up the KPIs just for people who don't know what those was business metrics, key performance indicators, and if we uh, put a correlation on that to the athletic population, that could be how much weight are you lifting with your squats, with your deadlifts? What is your 40-yard dash? What is your mile for more endurance uh, people, 5K, race pace? Those are all metrics at the end that if you're not tracking, you don't know if you're improving. So that would be something that an athlete would kind of consider, where for us right now it's all business metrics. How many people are in the door? How many people do we get in contact with? How many sales, like what's the percentage of evals to packages, the conversion. So there's a lot of things that we track that are different, and if we're not tracking those things, we don't know which step to take next, and we are lost essentially. And that is something that I'm still learning and improving at and getting better. But it's the concept of me writing things down, because if I don't write things down, they don't get done, and then I forget about them. So it comes back to, yeah, I'm trying to be better at being in the moment with each specific person. But if it's not written down that I can come back to, I forgot about the people before. And I didn't forget about them, but the little things like, oh, I forgot to upload this exercise, I forgot to do those things, and all of that impacts care. It impacts that long-term goal. So I don't want to end up forgetting about things. So writing them down, tracking, talking about them, hey, how could I make this better? Those are all things that make my end goal happen, that North Star happen.
definitely. And I think an important thing is write them down as quickly as you can, right? Because with that time lag or the delay, the information just gets a little muddier and a little muddier and a little muddier, and then you wait a little too long. You're like, damn, what are we doing again? What did I want to measure, right?
Well, and you have that state of mind too. So a lot of times I'll be listening to music or I'll be listening to another podcast, and I'll be very motivated, and I'll have an emotion that correlates with the thought process and that idea. And if I don't jot all of that down and capture what I'm feeling along with whatever the topic is, that idea, then when I reflect back on it, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't too important, even though it felt so important to me in that moment. So, like you said, if you don't do it right at that time, you miss out on a lot of things that could really move the ball forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think not to say we should be acting on emotion, probably not the best idea, but
Right.
understanding that we are not as rational as we think we are or we would like to be, because at the end of the day we're not computers, right? And I
Mhm.
think one big lesson that I learned is it's almost like if you can kind of like view your highs and lows as a wave, right? And if you're constantly only doing things when you're up here, that's always almost going to be accompanied with a crash because they need one another to coexist, right? And that's why
Yeah,
we
that's
have those
good.
moments where we're like, "Whoa, like I'm getting this done. I'm in the zone, right?" And then like a couple hours later, or a couple of days of that sustained, you're just followed with like a, I don't want to do anything
Yeah.
at all, right? And it's like being aware of when that's happening so you can kind of just stay more in like that middle and kind of just hang tight there, no matter, if you are feeling high or low. It's like maybe you just don't let yourself get too high and you don't let yourself get too low. Kind of stay in that middle ground and just get the work done regardless
Hmm.
of how you feel, and build that habit over time. And that's like the same thing that I would tell any of like my patients or clients. It's like the important thing is at the end of the day is getting the work done and being consistent about it, because it's not going to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. And if you want to get better and you want to grow and you want to learn, it requires effort, because if it doesn't
Yeah.
require effort, then it's not worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you talk about the highs and lows, that's so good. Uh, I was I was watching Instagram or some uh motivational talk. He might have been a psychologist or somebody that just really focuses on the mind. And what I took out of the conversation, because the question essentially was somebody asking, how do I lower the highs and raise the lows so you don't have these very polarizing emotional states? And what he came back on was life is that way. When things are really good, you need to have something that is also really bad, and that's what puts life into perspective. If you are just stagnant on a straight line or these very small like waves, yes, you might be able to get a lot of things done, but from a cognitive perspective and in like a happiness perspective, you're you're not all the way there. You're never sad, you're never happy, you're just kind of existing. And I feel like we really need those, like, hey, I'm on cloud 9, and then man, my life is just shit right now. And to tie in another perspective on this, it was something that Tom Hanks had said at a table of other actors and famous people. He said one thing that I've always told myself, no matter what is going on, this too shall pass. So it doesn't matter if you are the happiest person in the world, everything is going right for you, it's going to pass. And on the contralateral side, we're looking at if nothing is going right for you, you lost your job, got fired, whatever the case is, you're going to find another one. Whatever you're going through, you're going to get through it. Life's going to continue to go on. And I just thought that was a huge, simple quote that just stuck with me because
I like
it's
that.
true.
I think with that kind of like tell like kind of like it's almost as if that's like the lens of which he's like putting over life as a whole, like a tint, right?
Mhm.
And I think that as humans, we can strive and develop different tints to put over like our outlook on life, and that's something that we have to strive for and develop. And and everyone has a different, like way of looking at things. And personally, what I'm developing and focusing on for myself is telling myself, hey, at the end of the day, no matter what happens, everything is going to work out for the best. That's just like the theme that's in the back of my head. So regardless of if things are gone to shit and going terrible, because that's there in the back of my head, something will happen on the other side of it. And that's just how you view your life, and that's what you align yourself with. And that's how kind of things are going to naturally kind of fall into order because of that, right?
Mhm.
If you were to ask a religious person, that's going to be the same thing as, oh, God's got my back. God will take care of this. If you ask someone who's super spiritual, like I believe that the universe is working in my favor. Whatever, it doesn't really matter, just where you hold your belief, right?
Yeah.
And if you stick with it and you kind of like that vibe length or wavelength, if you will, right? If you
Mhm.
ride with that and you stick with it through the highs and the lows, I think that's going to be your perception of life. And that drives so much from like, it drives everything, how you feel, how you make decisions, um, how you track things on a day to day basis, right?
Right.
And for me, I'm going to relate that to like my chronic pain patients. It's like, if we can develop that sense of everything will be okay at the end of the day, that's such a huge win from doom and gloom and my life is shit and no one can help me and whatever it is. It's like we got to foster that sense of self-efficacy, whether you're chronic pain or you're an athlete, whatever it is, right? Because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, the priority is to establish a meaningful goal. And I know this might not stick well with some people, but we're always so focused on delivering outcomes. And when we get so outcome oriented, the process gets lost in the mix, right? And I
Yeah.
and I think the process is just way more important at the end of the day. That's what I'm selling more of than anything else. I'm selling a process that, hey, there's no guarantee that we achieve this outcome at the end of the day because there's so many variables in life that we can't control, right? But what we can control is stuff that we do measure and track, mindset and how we approach these things, and accountability, right? And I think if those are kind of like kept in a good headspace with room to improve every step of the way, with constant reflection and updating prior processes and like whatever it is, you name it, I think that makes for a meaningful journey. And whatever the outcome might be, that might be a moving goalpost now, right? Because it's like during that journey, you might empower someone to feel like, dude, I came in because I had all of this knee pain. I was trying to run that 10K. Holy shit, I feel way better. Screw a 10K, man. Let's go for a marathon. I didn't know I could
Right.
do that, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, that's a great example. Is the process, it just comes back to what we were talking about before, but you have the outcome that you're striving towards, but if you're not doing the daily things to get there, you won't get there. And that's another way of like what you just described is very, very similar along the same, path. And I completely agree with you. The process is what matters. Um, to tie it back into our journaling, tracking for performance, if you're not reflecting on what is going on today, how did things go, then you're probably not going to get to that 10K, let alone a marathon, because we're not understanding if we're improving or if we're not improving. And you brought up the accountability aspect. That's a large portion of what we do, because we can do all of those tracking for people and steer them in the right direction. That's almost in a nutshell what our profession is, with us being out of network. Somebody comes to us that says, "Hey, I want to be out of pain in 6 months." Okay, well, for us to do that, this is what's going on with you in your baseline right now. That's what our documentation is all for. We track all of that, and then with our knowledge and expertise, we build a process for them to go through, and then we make those shifts along the way. And the outcome is ideally hitting that, hey, I'm out of pain. It might not have taken 6 months. It might have taken 2 weeks. And then now in 6 months, they're not even the same person. And it's almost like we did all of that tracking and journaling for them, to make sure that they're still moving forward with their own. But if you don't have somebody with that accountability or a specific coach like that, you need to be writing things down yourself. That's my take on it. I saw one person. He sat next to me in, this was senior year in high school. Yeah, senior year in high school. I played AAA for hockey, so I moved to a different location. For literally that 6 months or so, we were practicing, and every single day we either had practice or we were traveling for games, and it was just nonstop for like 5 6 months. And the guy who sat next to me always wrote down things that went well, things he needed to work on in his journal, and everybody else would just sit there and look at him. And even now, it's like, man, dude, I wish I would have done that. I probably would have been much better because it you easily forget things that you don't want to work on. But if you write it down and it's like, okay, I wrote that down for a reason, I'm going to go just get it done. Which you mentioned in the past in our conversation, we got to do all of the things, whether we want to do them or not. We have those highs and lows, and we just need to do
Yeah,
it. And if
I
you're not
agree.
writing down and the even the thought process of why you want to do that, tying a why and a reason behind it and what was in that headspace when you wrote it down, huge. You reflect on it, it's like, okay, yeah, that's something I'm still struggling with. So I'm not getting better in this area. So I need to start working on my shot. I can't hit the top left corner for some reason. I got to go bar down, but I can't hit that top left side. So we got to work on it. So whatever that looks like in your specific sport, that's what you need to do. So I think journaling and tracking is one of the most important aspects in everything that we do. And I've been getting better at it. I still suck because it's not everybody likes to journal or write things down. I think I do because when you get into that headspace and you're just all of the words come out, I feel like I enjoy it, but it's tough to get into that specific um or set that time aside to be like, okay, I'm dropping everything else that I'm doing and I'm just going to sit here at the computer and write, or I'm just going to sit here with my journal and write.
I think um, it's funny because we were talking about the process and like kind of like went away from the outcome. But I think a very important takeaway is it's like you could journal, you can track all you want, right? But I think and that is the process. And this is kind of like the yin and yang to it, right? But it's like the process also doesn't mean anything without the outcome, right? Because it's like you should have that general direction that you're going to. And I think what makes it easier is having a general framework. So like let's use the kid in your senior year of high school, right? It's like his outcome was likely I want to be the best hockey player that I could be, and that's like the framework he was operating under, and so that made it easy for him to journal every single day rather than just journaling for the sake of it, right? Likewise for like our patients, it's like I'm not going to just track. For me, like I like to track joint mobility. Like that's like a big part of what I like to do, and very specific positions. And these are just personally for me. I'll also track things that are meaningful to my patients as well. But like if someone comes in for low back pain and they have trash hip IR, right? And it's like, okay, cool. There's no point in me tracking hip IR for the sake of hip IR if it's not changing, if there's no outcome attached to it. It's like, okay, if I can
Right.
improve hip IR so we can get more into the hip and use a little bit less of a low back strategy, it's like, okay, now there's a framework behind why I'm tracking that, right? So
Yeah.
that's a lot of it. So I would say having the why behind the reason to journal and whatnot matters. Now, maybe if you're doing it for the first time, you might not need a why. You could just do it and just see how it is and develop it as you go. And I think that's perfectly okay as well. But just to mindlessly just journal over the course of a long period of time, I don't think is going to be useful either, because you're just going to do it and then one day be like, why am I doing this?
Right.
And
That's a good point. You need to have some intention behind it.
exactly. I think that is such an important piece of doing anything that we do, right? We don't want to just be mindlessly programmed robots just doing things. I think having intent and setting intentions matters a ton. And it takes effort to set intention. That's the thing, right? It's so easy to not do anything. And the challenge is setting that intention. And in doing so, you are putting yourself for a challenge. And doing a challenge gives you more meaning to the task that you are trying to accomplish. And in finding meaning, now I have purpose, right? And it's like,
Right.
okay, how do we establish that across as many different domains as we can? So for athletes, that could be very specific event that they're training for, or a personal record, or just I'm just trying to increase my pace, whatever it might be, but that there's that overarching like outcome that we're looking for. And now it's like, okay, we can work within that framework now, right? So and I guess that can vary from clinician to clinician, right? So for example, for me, I have a very specific framework that I like to work towards. And that framework is going to be eventually getting anyone lower extremity to single leg hopping. I don't care what your injury is, but if I know I can get you to single leg hopping continuously over the course of a long period of time, the way we get there, just reverse engineer it back to where we are right now. And that's the framework. And within
Yep.
that is where we kind of just develop a lot of the things that we're working through, right? So
Yeah.
just to speak on it broadly.
Right. Well, it's just the framework that you brought up. Having a framework and building out a system that works for you, and realizing, yes, it is a system, it's a framework, but they're also moldable for whatever each individual needs or whatever task that it's through. And that's one thing that businesses strive off of, is having frameworks and systems in place. And your systems and frameworks are different than mine, just like what you said, just clinician wise. But now on like the business admin, ownership side of things, you'll do things different than me every single time. Even if I sent you my framework, you're going to tweak it to how it works best for you and your clientele, because they're not the same. You're not the same. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with
Funny,
that.
funny you say that. Keon, who's in our group, uh,
Yeah.
I sent him my little the injury screen flyer thing,
Oh, sure.
right? And like he looked at it, and then he sent me back the one he created off of that, and I'm like, oh shit, that's way better than mine. I'm gonna steal this from you
Yeah.
now, you know. But it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's the whole point of it, right? It's like if
Yeah.
you can find like-minded people that you're willing to share with, you never know how it comes back the other way around. And I'm just of the belief that it's almost always going to be better, you know, and
Yeah.
like that's how it should be at least.
Oh, and that's the thing. Most people, even in business or even in competition, everybody wants to see the other person do well. And if you want other people to fail, you're in it for the wrong reasons. So when
Yes.
I was like in sports, uh, playing all the way up to NCAA Division III hockey, even in golf, like golf is a lot more personal. Yeah, you have a golf team where you compile all of your scores, just like a track meet. Everybody does their own individual things, but or individual events. And then at the end, depending on how you do individually versus the other teams, they add in each individual person from the team that competed, and that's how you get the points and the score and the team results. And same thing with golf. And I never rooted against the other like people that I played with. I was like, I want you to do good because we're all out here to do good, and I don't want to win because you were shit. it's no fun when like you're going to go into an event, you're just going to kick the piss out of everybody. Like there's no competition. There's like you're in the wrong place if you're that much better than somebody else. You also want them to improve. So yeah, I could help them get better, but also doesn't help me get better. So like having that, I think is a massive impact in mindset as well. So like when you brought up Keon and how he sent it back to you, and you're like, "Yep, this is better." It's like tag me into those too because I want to make mine
Yeah,
better. Because I use the one that I think I put mine in the group chat too. So
yeah,
if somebody who
yeah,
has better
exactly.
designing abilities than me, then great. Now we all get better.
I'm also curious as to like this whole like you want everyone else to get better around you mindset plays a role into the fact that we became physical therapists to begin with. You know what I'm talking about? It's like,
Yeah,
is that just part of the gig being having that personality trait? Like because that's not
that's
everyone,
curious. No,
right?
it's
It's
not.
definitely not everyone, and that's okay. Like I don't think everyone has to be like this. It's just my outlook on life, and I'm okay with that because for me, I've come to learn the hard way, if you will. Like my leadership style is not. I'm not going to be the guy hoorah up in the front of the group showing how it's done. It's a very servant style leadership. It's very much how can I serve you to help improve, and if that means kind of like lifting you on my shoulders while I take the brunt of it, that's okay because I can handle that. And that's just feels. I feel like that's what allows me to operate in this profession the way that I can and the way that I want to continue to grow into and get stronger to help other people carry their cross. And I think it's just something that's developed and it's also just almost a little innate as well at the same time. And I'm curious like how much of that plays a role into like me becoming a physical therapist because that was, to be completely honest with you, never the plan.
Dude, that's another topic for another time. I know you have a patient here in a few minutes,
Yeah,
but
for
that
sure.
that is very curious that you bring that up because just about every physical therapist that I've run into, even like physical therapist assistants, we're all very very quick to get along and connect with one another. And I think there's just so much positivity around our space, and maybe it's we were born that way and that's why we ended up coming this way. And who knows, it wasn't my original path either. I wanted to be more of the athletic trainer, and I got into PTA school, and I was like, I like this way more than I did athletic training. And the more people that I ran into is probably more of the influence that I had because our networks from the physical therapy side providers are all amazing. Like I don't know if there's one physical therapist that I ran into where I was like, I could, never talk to this person again. You know?
I think I think I think that would make for a really good follow up later down the line, like how we got into the field
Yeah,
and like motivations and also like key figures that will kind of like shape the way we practice as well. I think that would be pretty
that
fun to
would be
dive
great.
into on a later
Yeah.
topic for sure.
We'll have to get you back on and have that conversation.
I got you. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So wrap us up here in, however much time you have. I know you got to get going. Um, kind of some key points about journaling tracking. We talked about a lot of different things, which I think we hit some really really good topics.
I think at the end of the day, and I would honestly just apply my framework for clinical care to life in a way because they mirror each other, weirdly enough. But it's almost as if the first important thing is to identify a problem. And once you identify a problem, and it doesn't have to be clearly defined either, right? Just identify it broadly speaking. And then the goal being is to cast a net around it as best as we can. Because I think when we are not able to capture the problem to begin with, or the long-term goal is to capture the problem under a net, but number one is to identify that it exists, and once it does, we want to figure out what that outcome is that we're trying to get to, whether it's getting closer to it or getting further away from it. And then once we can identify the outcome, now we can start to create a framework that kind of wraps around the entire thing, so we can kind of like pull it all together, and understanding that whatever it is that we set out to do from the beginning will change no matter what, and it's never going to be a perfect like linear process. It's always going to be up and down, but a good way to kind of like capture that journey along the way is to, whether it's journaling, whether it's taking down quick note, whether it's tracking specific things that happen along the way consistently over time, over regular time periods and intervals that you can do effectively and efficiently, I think is going to be a really good way to, one, appreciate the process, and also give you information and data to build off of as you continue to move up that ladder. And at the end of the day, yes, we are working for a specific outcome, but and it's really easy to get lost in the process and feel like there's so much going on. But as you track, you can always look back and see how far you've come. And I think that is a very measurable way of seeing your growth over time. And whether it's subjective, objective, really doesn't matter. It's what enhances and improves your life. And as long as you're striving towards being a better person and a happier person, that can be a result of getting faster, stronger, less pain, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think he wrapped it up good. It just brings me back to something that I heard from Matthew McConaughey when they asked him who his hero was, and he said it's me in 5 years. And
Yeah.
then when he gets there, they ask him again, and he said, "My hero is me in 5 years." Because when you get to that point, it's like, okay, I'm here. I have improved. I have tracked it. I am where I want to be. But where do I want to be in 5 years? And then it just puts into perspective the short term, long term, you know, full life goals. And those can always change. But, when you get to reach a goal, because you will, if you track it, you do these things. And then it's, what's the next goal? Live with intention. We want to hit another goal. We don't want to stay where we're at. Lifelong learning. And that's that's pretty much what you wrapped us up with. So we'll leave it at that. I appreciate you again for coming on. We got some massive gems out of this. I can't wait to go through it. And
Yeah,
where
thanks for having me, Jason.
yeah, I'm gonna put all of your I know you gotta take off. I'm gonna put all of your information so people, if they're in the Dallas area or if they want to reach out to you, they can. So Instagram, website.
Yeah,
Is there anything else
Instagram.
that you want to make sure people know where they can find you?
I think that's the main thing. Instagram, website. My information is all there. So revenantphysicaltherapy.com, and then Instagram, I think it's Revenant PT. You can type in my name, Nevin Saju, and that'll pop up. Those are the two easiest ways to get to me: DM, website, email, all easy, accessible ways. I'm always open to talking with anyone, just kind of like guiding them through.